The purpose of today's video is to start fabricating some of the single-seater Austin 7 or Monposto 7 as I like to call it. Start putting things together. So the first thing is to tack weld the flanges on the rear axle, the offset rear axle, and to do that we have to heat up the forging at the front of the chassis and stretch it. This project is being developed in conjunction with Paul at Vintage and Classic Workshops, and I'll be interviewing him later in this series to let you understand some of the concepts behind this design. Today's video is about illustrating the design in CAD and our ability to start putting things together with respect to the rear axle, which is an offset rear axle. As you can see, we've simulated it all with me in the driver's seat, and today's is to check that the flanges line up with the spring when the appropriate axle height from the ground is set. This is the first practical implementation of the Monposto 7. It's got the modified rear axle offset by 127mm. It's got the drop flanges onto the main spring. It hasn't got the upper flanges yet, but that's still to come. It's got a simulation of the drive shaft and the pinion shaft, and that is perfectly level just now with 130mm flanges, and the springs mounted on top of the chassis instead of below. The gearbox and the engine is absolutely plumb in both directions. The drive shaft is plumb as well. Don't know if you can see that. So is the back here, and the ground clearance is correct. The next stage is to weld up some engine mountings, the flanges, weld them up properly. They're just tack welded just now, and also install all the bearings etc. in the rear axle. Progress indeed.